Starting in one, two, three. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another video from Keobastein, K-TEIN episode 11. I hope everyone is doing well. As usual, I have my good host, co-host, Calm Down. Calm Down, how are you doing?
Good morning, man. Good morning, people. Getting my caffeine going here.
All right. Hey, I know that feeling. I don't have caffeine, or rather, I do have caffeine. It was from the Fanta soda I had. But hey, glad you can join us today. So, first thing, I just finished watching the Nintendo Indie Showcase that just showed up, and I saw some pretty interesting games. You haven't had a chance to watch that Nintendo Indie Showcase, have you? Calm down.
So when you mentioned it, man, I did try to scroll through Wario 64's feed because he's usually, in addition to like game sales, and again, we're not affiliated with him, so I'm not trying to sponsor or promote him. But besides game sales, with any kind of showcase, he's really good at uploading screenshots from the event. And like he's on the pulse, so he'll do a recap way faster and better than IGN or Polygon or
I
Kotaku
would
or anything
imagine,
like
yeah,
that.
because usually
Yeah.
theirs are highly curated based off basically who either paid them more or something to that fact. I mean, well, sorry,
Yeah.
journalist integrity is a tricky thing in this current era and whatnot. So Wario 64 is their name, correct?
Yes, Wario 64. So the two titles that just stood out to me visually, there's one called Mini Shoot, um, that I think is releasing today as well. And then there was another one, one moment here, something about pets,
Oh,
something about
I
like
think I know which one.
dogs.
Is it? Yeah, that's the one that actually caught my interest. Is it called My Little Puppy?
You got it. And
Ye-
I have some things to say on that just for like the topic itself. But how about you let me know like why that one stood out to you?
I mean, one, the color. I do like how I like how the colors are, but also it's a theme that's like rarely tapped on, and I think the reason why is because since they are talking about heaven, it's not a. I guess it's a thing of like how Christians don't get a lot of, let's say, quote unquote, good video games. Like one of my content creator,
Hey,
not
Keobastein, I'm so sorry, dude. I need to step away one minute. I will be right back.
not
All
a
right.
problem,
All right, Keobastein, thank you for that. Cat was throwing up, so had to take care of that.
not a problem. Everything okay from there?
Uh, yeah, like this. I don't know if your partner will mention this, but cats they just throw up. Yes, like yes,
I at
there's
least
sometimes like
I've
cause of
heard that a
concern.
few times, but you at least make
Yeah.
sure to clean up so they don't get back to it, or if you have a dog, get to it. Yeah.
Well, in my case, not a dog, but like my other cat will just like shove his face into it. But anyway, last I was hearing, you were saying on the My Little Peppy thing, you were talking about
Yeah,
something about the Christian perspective. I'm sorry.
yeah. So I was highlighting the Christian perspective because there is a commentary of like games have a lot of themes and they do take from a lot of
Mhm.
cultural and whatnot. Now I've not explored every single game that's existed and permutation and whatnot, but there definitely is a some amount of, let's say, games with Christian themes. I mean, one I guess maybe there's like Dante's Inferno is one that comes to mind. I don't think
Yep.
Legacy of Kain is Christian theme at all. Catholic maybe, but not Christian and whatnot.
Hmm.
Or at least, well, then again, heaven is not limited to Christianity, if you will. But I guess the
Right.
thing is, I don't recall too many games where something in the afterlife is actually a present thing. The nearest one that comes to mind, I think, is Neon White. But then again, that's not even heavy. I think that was like Purgatory, where you're in between
Yeah.
heaven and whatnot. So seeing a game that based off of that, but then based off pets, like that's a good question. Like, do like not pets, but do animals go to the same place and whatnot? That's like a
Well, we grew up in. We talk about pillars of pop culture touchstones. Us growing up, right? You're probably familiar with that movie, All Dogs Go
oh
to
yes, I'm
Heaven,
gonna all
right?
go heaven.
Yeah, yeah.
When
So
they damn blues, gay blues, Dawn blues. I can say Dawn blues. Go ahead.
I was saying, so the idea in itself, and again, I'm not trying to pick a fight like, oh, this is derivative or not unoriginal, nothing like that. But I'm like, okay, that's kind of like a theme that sort of in our headspace, right? So then I look at this, where the reason why I want to mention it on a couple levels, on a couple of points, is that theme, the way it's packaged, it's it's pretty bright. You know, it's colorful. Yeah, there's like a dark level, and that's all fine. The idea is interesting in itself. The reason why I want to talk about it is, you know, pets mean so much to a lot of people, myself included. But it does remind me, I'm more open to this idea as a game like this. I think that's clever in a way versus what came to my mind, man, is on Reddit, right? So, like, if you love pets, there's so many cute animal subreddits that you can follow, right? And you can curate your feed. But dude, I'm telling you, like, even as a furry friend enthusiast, like that's what you just want to follow. Maybe that's like your way to like escape the world. Dude, so many people do uh, not doom posting, but sometimes like in a way to grieve, people will post like tribute thing, like galleries of their pets, you know? And it's like, man, like
Is it
I feel for
memorializing?
anybody who's yeah, dude, because it's like, okay, I don't want to think about anything sad right now, so I'm just trying to look at like cute pictures of animals, and like you scroll and it's like how to say goodbye to my best friend of 16 years. You keep scrolling, oh, how to say goodbye to my friend of 10 years. And it's like almost like a style and format of like a popular post these days where I don't think these people are crap posting, you know, but it's like they are legitimately turning the community and like it gets upvoted and like that's their way to process their grief. And I'm not trying to take away from that, but I'm just like, man, I don't want to see that right now, you know, or I don't want to be in that headspace. Like I do empathize, you know, so I'm not saying how dare you post that type of thing, but that's something that just like crossed my mind. And I wonder for those people, a game like this, would this hit any more, any less, or maybe it's just like not associated in any way for
I
those type of pet people?
I kind of get the impression that maybe it might hit, and that's kind of the one of the good things about either gaming in general is how we can portray story. Cause I just heard about another game. Heard about there's this game called The Tale of Eternal Goldman. Have you heard of that?
No, I need to
So it
pull
seems
that
to be a
up.
game that's based off of Capcom's DuckTales Nintendo game, but not more stylized and Cuphead's art style. And but the thing is, while you're playing, like just a run and jump game similar to DuckTales, there is a narrator that has two narrators, a little boy and the mother, and they're talking to each other through the story. And I'm told
Hmm.
that when you get to a certain point during the checkpoint, the basically the mother and the son have like a tit for tat where basically I think the mother chastised the son for saying something that was more of a personal drama between the two. And the reason I'm bringing that up because the thing is, when you look at Eternal Gold Man, it just looks like it's a platform adventure with a whimsical old man. But because the narrator is actually having their own arcs going on in the background that you're listening, it turns into there's some breadcrumbs of family drama where it seems like the mother sorry it seems like the oh yeah I think the so the mother is telling the story of Gold Man, like that's how you're playing a game, but it's being told as a story in the narrative to the boy who I think is sickly. And basically what comes out
Hmm.
when the boy is like, do you think your life is worse because you had me? And the
Damn.
mother like chats us like, you probably we want to talk about that. So apparently there's like a underlaying of personal drama complexity that people got thrown off that they weren't expecting, which is why the game itself is now getting some accolades. Which that's what's great about story. So I guess to go back to like my little puppy. Um, yeah, I do think it's pretty impressive how. So I think this could be an outlet for those people who may be using looking at cute furry pictures to like uplift themselves or cope because
Hmm.
video game is an escapism, is a medium for escapism, and that's kind of what some people want to use. Sometimes escapism to completely disassociate from what they're doing, or maybe they want to relate to what they're dealing with and whatnot, or it helps people who may not be in that situation get a glimpse of what they're dealing with, so they could either hopefully learn to empathize, and that's why I personally kind of looking forward to it because I am not a pet owner myself. I know a pet owner, whatnot. But it is interesting to know. I do want to see like where do they want to go with the narrative, and also it looks cute. I do like the presentation of it, like you said, color and bright. I do like the color and brightness, and it is tapping on afterlife life. So I do maybe expect to have some talk about maybe mortality. It doesn't have to do that, but I do think it will have that because that is the theme behind it, or at least what I'm seeing from the theme. So that's why I'm looking forward to that because something that I don't think we see very often with the theming of mortality, at least when it comes to, or not even just mortality, the relationship between humans and their pet dogs and whatnot. Like, I wonder if we'll see other animals and we will see how those other animals may regard to each other if that does come up or not. Like those are some possibilities that you know, that I'm fanficking in my head that I think might be interesting.
Yeah, well, let's see. Again, like I don't think it's gonna do, and I hate having to frame any game in this way. Like I don't think it's gonna do crazy numbers, but like it shouldn't have to be either. Like I think with what it's, as long as its devs are able to accomplish what they had intended in mind, I mean it. I just looking at these images, I think I have an idea of like what's in store for playing the game, and that's cool because yeah, what other game is offering this kind of experience right now?
It does look like a 3D platformer, unless I'm wrong. But then again, that reminds me of another game that also did caught my interest because how the framing is. I think it's called Toto's Adventure. It's supposed to be based off Wizard of Oz, Dorothy's pet dog Toto, which is more of a cozy game with some platforming involved, but mostly just following, exploring the world of Wizard of Oz, but as Dorothy's dog Toto instead of Dorothy or the other titular characters. And I'm like, oh, you know what? That's interesting because that means we're exploring the world. I mean, I guess you could maybe say it's just like Stray Cat, but with a dog and super fantastical, I guess. Which I never played Stray, but I heard promising things about the experience. Not that it's like an exceptional game, but it is an experience that is seen to be unique of its own.
I heard the world that you explore in Stray because it's not like our timeline, and I think it's like in the
Yeah,
future.
far
It
future where
is
they're like no
kind
more
of
humans. It's kind of mostly
yeah
all.
grim and bleak. But yeah,
All right, but besides that Nintendo showcase, so one of the reasons why we did start the episodes, we want to talk about how people come into their own and whatnot. Not exactly like the hero's journey or heroine's journey or wherever's in between that, but more so like I call myself the fighting game connoisseur because I very much enjoy fighting games. That was like the genre that I just kind of fell in love with. It's the game genre that I have the most experience in history with and whatnot. And so I just kind of I did make something of an identity of the fact that I like to almost play majority of fighting games. Like my mother, sorry, like people who know me, who may not even be into gaming, will know. Well, we know that Keobastein is a fan of this particular types of games and whatnot and everything. So there's that. However, if you were to ask me, is that what that's all to it? Like, is it just only fighting game? No. I mean, that's why we should put in the forefront. But there are, as the old saying goes, there are layers to me. Like how Shrek is an ogre, he's an ogre, but there's layers to his ogre. He is an brave person. He is maybe not exactly industrial, but oh, does he know how to cook? Does he know how to cook? Well, there are layers to Shrek, and just as there are layers to Shrek, there's also layers to me. I do like my fighting games, but I don't just play only fighting games, and I do have select fighting games. But I also like my rail shooting games. I also like my RPG games. I like my score attack, sometimes puzzle games and whatnot. Like Puyo Pop, that I would like to try to play Puyo Pop a bit more. I do like other forms of medium consumption as well. Does that make me a nerd? I will imagine that does make me a nerd, but I'm also not a nerd because of the fact that I like Dungeons and Dragons or sci-fi. I'm probably a nerd because I do care to learn and gain information. And I don't think nerdom is selected to just only be in, let's say, the Dungeons and Dragons Tolkien essay. It's just a person who likes to gather information and think critically, whatnot. I'm a person who likes who's more than just the sum of its parts.
right. And
And
if you really think about it, like whatever genre of gaming that you really enjoy, if you really enjoy that genre, why would you limit yourself to only that genre? You know, like if you like games, yeah, you don't have to try every single part of games, but why would you pigeonhole yourself to be like, oh, I'm JRPG dude. Oh, I'm sports dude. Oh, I'm Souls like guy. Because to me, in a way, it's like you can have too much of a good thing, also, right? Just like how whatever your
Absolutely.
favorite food is, you know, you can't eat it every single day. You might think you could, and you might be able to do that for a while, but like that's also a disservice because you're going to get burnt out, you're going to get tired, it's not going to taste the same way. That thing that you love so freaking much, like why would you do that to anything that you enjoy that much on that level?
Yeah, like case in point, my time with Grand Blue Versus, because I love fighting games, I thought I had to keep playing that game. But once I really got the understanding that this is not a game for me, I don't really love it. Not love it, and you don't need to love everything. You could be indifferent about it too, and whatnot. I I kept taking this like zero sum like approach to sometimes how I engage with even the things I did like. Like if I don't love it, then I must hate it, or if I don't hate
Mm-hmm.
it, then I gotta love it, right? And it's like no, like for example, Phantom Breaker. I love Phantom Breaker. We all know that. I love Phantom Breaker. Is it is that love unabashedly that it can't do no wrong? Oh no, Phantom Breaker does many things wrong to my eyes, from a consumer side to some fighting game design to even yeah. I mean, actually, I said Phantom Breaker story. I'm attached to these characters, but that story is nothing to write home about or anything to be praiseworthy. I will call it. Some people sometimes look at the character and they call them knockoff anime rejects. I will concur. Some of the character design effects do look like anime knockoff rejects or something. Granted, what does an anime knockoff reject looks like? That's a whole nother story. But I'm not going to say that these characters are. Oh my god, they look so amazing. The only reason they look amazing to me is because I recognize it. Like if I see somebody cosplaying as Mikoto, Mei, or any of these Phantom Breaker characters, I'm gonna be like, "Oh wow, that's cool! You cosplay as these characters that I know." Not because those character costume designs are necessarily, I'll say, great to my eyes, but because I
Mm-hmm.
recognize them and whatnot. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a good or a bad thing. It's just something that is relative and whatnot. But so going back to like identity and whatnot. Like I do play a lot of fighting games, but I don't love every single fighting game. And just because I also do play games doesn't mean I love or have to play every single game. And I do think people could learn to balance that out, and that is maybe a challenge. Learning what is the balance, and that balance is maybe learning either what are your thresholds or no, just becoming more exposed to things, and maybe figure out. Sorry, I do have some favorite things as like let's say, how should I say it? Benchmarks, if you will. I want to say benchmarks to certain things. Like, the reason I got into Phantom Breaker was because it was a fighting game that I didn't have, but one of the benchmarks that made me appreciate it is okay, it's a four button fighting game. That doesn't mean every single four button fighting game is great or good to me in my eyes, but it's rather okay, this is a game that's not trying to overwhelm me with too many buttons, but it's not also so little button that it sort of reminds me of Fantasy Strike, which I think it's a fine game, but it definitely probably could have done a little bit more and whatnot. Some the other benchmark from Phantom Breaker, okay, it gave me a subsystem and whatnot. I'm like, okay, I like game that gives you subsystem because that means it gives you some limited capacity to like maybe let's say curate your own experience and whatnot. I like when games kind of allow you to do that. I know some people like that because of the roguelike, how you make certain builds and whatnot. I do like a little bit of min-maxing my game, but not so much min-maxing and whatnot. And you see, it's all these little parameters that I look at to help me balance and coordinate myself, and I don't just all encompassing in dojo something. Because like I said, I don't only just like fighting games. I like medium, especially cartoon. I am a very big fan of animation and whatnot. So I like both Japanese animation, sorry, or Japan animation, Western animation, Canadian animation. If it's just animated, I'm going to at least give it a shot and such and whatnot.
Well,
And based
earlier
on
you were saying about min-maxing. It was making me think of usually when we talk fandoms, right? Like the most common labels you hear about fans are either a diehard fan and a casual fan, right? And you and me know that those aren't the only two extremes of fandom. But I think the more that fandoms looked at it in that way, I think it's kind of like what causes problems with this stuff. Because if like I could very casually say that, yeah, I'm a forever fan, or like I'm always going to root for certain franchises, right? But I don't have to be at the pulse, closely monitoring, being aware of like the timetable of all the future releases, and I don't have to defend all this stuff. Like I think the way you were talking about Phantom Breaker earlier is like very healthy. Like for you, you didn't use this word, but if you wanted to, you said, hey, calm down. I love Phantom Breaker. That's great. But that I also know that doesn't mean like you're going to defend all its like bad points, or say like it can't do better or anything like that. And I think that nuanced conversation is really difficult for people to do with all their hobbies and interests,
Yeah.
not just gaming, animation too. And what I wanted to point out, like, for example, for me, um, yeah, like I leaned into like, yeah, I really enjoy playing fighting games when I first started streaming in like 2020. But like that's part of the reason why I was tracing that thread. I'm like, oh, you know what? I have been playing fighting games for like most of my life, and I just didn't realize it because I was playing so many different types of games. I think maybe for our generations when we were younger, like because access was more limited, also we were more eager to go rent whatever was available from Blockbuster or whatever mom and pop shop, right? But three franchises to me, man, that they're super important to me, that I enjoy them, but I think nobody would ever guess that I'm calmed out as a fan of these franchises just because like I don't hype them up like I used to when I was a kid. Dude, Pokemon, Guilty Gear XX, and Final Fantasy X. Like I I'm not a Final Fantasy fanboy, Like I'm not a striver. I'm not playing all these latest Pokemon titles like for Nintendo. They're about to port Fire Red and Leaf Green to like the latest console, which is great for anybody who missed out or people who really want to indulge in that nostalgia. That's totally fine. But I'm not like clamping at the bit, like chomping at the bit, waiting for like those re-releases again. I don't even need a remake of Final Fantasy X. I'm not part of the discourse in the fighting game community of like people talking about, oh, Strive, was a downgrade to the series, blah blah blah. Even if like maybe a small inkling, I can agree with that, but like I'm just not invested in it enough because like Guilty Gear is not like that IP franchise for me to like carry it all this way, even though it meant the world to me back in the day. I think Guilty Gear XX is for me the best video game soundtrack of all time. And even though Daisuke Ishiwatari has continued to compose the music for the games, I don't like the direction of the Guilty Gear soundtracks at all, even at Guilty Gear XR. So that makes it tougher to sometimes like find my quote unquote people in these franchises because when you talk about Pokemon, dude, it's Pokemon. If you talk about Guilty Gear, it's like, yeah, Guilty Gear Strive. Even like Final Fantasy, man, like I think you can imagine like it's all about 7 or it's all about 6. It's harder to get the fandoms sometimes for the other ones.
It seems to be more related to what is the trendy thing per se and whatnot. Because I'm not actually surprised by the three specific things that you pointed out. One part because Pokemon may be the only game that I could think of. It wasn't the only monster collecting game that we had, but it certainly was the one that put monster collecting as a focus instead of one. Because Dragon Quest had monster collecting. Was it the primary mechanic of the game? No, it wasn't the primary. So Pokemon being like that game that was the primary monster collecting, that wasn't Tamagotchi or Digimon or Tamagotchi. I'm not surprised that like has such a connect. And then not only that, I would dare say the reason why Pokemon is also iconic is it's at the threshold between like even if you look at Pokemon, what I had called Pokemon anime as a kid. No, I had to say it just looked like a cartoon because it was anime, but not so anime. If that makes sense, I don't know if you're sure you agree with that.
Yeah, I do agree with you. And again, like depending on who you're talking to, you're gonna have like all sorts of like disagreements, right? Because anime during our youth, man, is not like how anime is today, right?
Yeah.
So certain things that were able to cross over in different ways, but if you want to make a similar conversation about Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, Pokemon, and then I think there's like one more title that could Yu-Gi-Oh, maybe, where I mean they're all from Japan. Yes, technically they're
Yu-Gi-Oh
all
definitely leans
anime.
into the anime. I mean, maybe the monsters themselves don't look anime until we got to later series, but
Yeah.
the actual players themselves were anime looking without a doubt, in my opinion, with the very
Oh,
exaggerated hairstyle. Like, the exaggerated hairstyle, and then also the eyes being extremely big. Not all characters' eyes were really big in Pokemon, I would say, or they were big, but not to now where we look at where we see almost moe eyes as almost everything, in my opinion. But that's one here there. But then besides Pokemon, you did also mention Final Fantasy X.
hmm
I was downright say besides being one of the few games that showed the power of the PS2. No, that was one of the games that show. No, that was the only game that married video game and theater, or sorry, a cinematic experience in one perfectly. It's not like we didn't have other games that didn't attempt cinematic experiences, but I'll say Final Fantasy X is the one that like married it on a mainstream
I
level.
want to say it might be the first one to really do voice acting in the game
Oh
as
yeah, well,
extensive as it
and it's,
was.
yeah,
Was
absolutely,
yeah.
because those character voice work, yeah. So like I said, so that having that so strong of a pivotal point makes like having that not surprised by that. And I'm trying to remember what the third one is. I can't. Oh, Guilty Gear. So Guilty Gear, that was 2D. All right, let's get one thing straight. Um, while I may no longer be the biggest Archer Work fan, one thing I can never take away from Archer Work, even when I look at Guilty Gear Strive, even when I look at Marvel Toe Con and everything, they know how to make appealing eye candy. And even back to Guilty Gear SS, that was complete freaking eye candy from Guilty Gear SS. From the stages to art effect, like the particles effect in Guilty Gear SS, when you did a special move and then you start making that green circle, like that is
Mhm.
totally tantalizing and such a total sensation to the eye. And if you want to talk about music, I agree. Guilty Gear SS music is still, in my opinion, far not say superior. No, not say superior. I won't say that.
I will say it's superior. I will. I will say it's superior.
I'm not going to call it superior because music and art is subjective. But like I am far more confident to play a random. No, there are music I like in SR and there are music I like in Strive. I have to actively go out and search those. While Guilty Gear
Right.
SS, I'm brave enough to put the whole track on random and just pick up a song from there because how good the music is. While Esser, I need to select which music I like in Esser, and I need to select what music I like in Strive. But SS music, everything is a freaking banger. Like just everything is a banger there and whatnot.
I wholeheartedly agree. Yes.
So like, and I do think that is a sentiment that's even shared with yeah, I think like I say I think even Guilty Gear Esser pulls back on the zaniness of the Guilty Gear. I think Guilty Gear SS and Ascent Core is like the last time Guilty Gear is the most zaniest it will ever be. Afterwards, that's when they try to become more palatable for everybody else. Esser try to be more palatable, and same thing with Strive. Like they kind of be more reserved on their. Don't want to say zany. Let's say hardcore rock aesthetic. They lean more into the rock aesthetic and whatnot. So I'm not surprised that like these are all very strong things. These aren't just run of the mill things you pick, in my opinion, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So I guess that's what I want to say. I'm not surprised that those have such a strong impression on you.
Yeah. And again, like when I mention these things, I I also don't mind if people disagree or have other interests or titles that are super important to them. My point in sharing this is whatever these titles mean to me, I hope people can find titles or franchises that mean just as much to them, but also in a healthy way where they don't have to become fanatics about it, you know? And I think that was part of your reason wanting to discuss this stuff
Yeah,
because
yeah, that's the reason I did. I'm sorry. Like for starters, I don't I don't think some people should be going sorry, Harry Potter, because we know J.K. Rowling is currently considered a controversial person in the
yeah.
media space and whatnot. Um, you can be a person who be like, I don't agree with the author, but I still enjoy this artwork. Like, for example, I don't hate Harry Potter. I don't regard Harry Potter any higher, and it's not because of J.K. Rowling. It's just rather I regard Harry Potter because it was a time where I didn't understand reading, but I did like it my, let's say, venture action fantasy, and Harry Potter was a very easy read. But now that I
Hmm.
become a stronger reader, and there's, let's just say, story that does Harry Potter themes, actually I'll say this, far superior. That's why I'm like, okay, I don't. That's why I'm not so devastated by what happens around Harry Potter. I'm like, I've kind of grew beyond that. But that's not to say Harry Potter also was bad, because one, I Harry Potter was many people's uh, gateway to literature. I just didn't think it should be your only thing. It's a there you go. That reminds me of Street Fighter. Like, I understand Street Fighter is like people's gateway to fighting game, but sometimes it's their only fighting game, and it's like if it's not like Street Fighter,
Yeah.
then that's a problem. It's like no, you should be able to grow beyond Street Fighter and whatnot. And same thing with like Harry Potter. Like if you like other stories, there's Harry Bladder. There are many other stories that you can get attached and invested to, and it doesn't just need to be only Harry Potter. Same thing with like Star Wars and whatnot. Like you can enjoy both Star Wars and Star Trek. You can enjoy both Mortal
Hmm.
Kombat and Street Fighter.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And so I'm going to spitball here. You'll let me know if you agree or disagree. But for some, like having something to root for is great. Like that's healthy. But with that package, I think like the overly simplistic takeaway that some people have is when I root for something, that means I also have to actively dislike something else because disliking this thing also means that I'm rooting for the other thing. So like you talk about Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat, it's like, oh, well, if I like Mortal Kombat, I have to dunk on Street Fighter because how else will people know that I'm a Mortal Kombat guy, right? Same thing with Star Trek and Star Wars. Well, I love Star Wars, so that means that I can only support Star Wars, and I have to talk about how poor Star Trek is in comparison, or vice versa. It's like you can enjoy both, or you can enjoy neither one, right? Like, it doesn't have to be so complex, but it doesn't have to be so simple in that way either, right?
Like, can you repeat that again? That went over my head.
Yeah.
That last part.
Okay. Yeah. So when you enjoy something, like when you when you were thinking about Star Trek and Star Wars and Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, that's what was making me think. It's like, why do you have to hate the other one just because you like one?
I
Like that's a big problem with the fandoms.
That's
So
the yeah. That's like the problem with the zero sum like solution or fallacy. Like it's either it's like you gotta go 100% one way or 0% the other way, and there's like, well, there's still 10, 15, 20, 30, 40. You even go get even more granular and go there's 33% on XYZ. Like everything doesn't need to be all encompassing, but it seems like that's how people kind of only view things. Like, okay, if you go to a buffet, does that mean you need to eat every single items on the buffet? Does that mean you need to have 3 or 4 plates? No, it just means you have a selection of food and you need to go pay for it. That's what I like about buffet, that the food is already ready and prepared. It doesn't mean I have to have 2 or 3 plates to enjoy the buffet. If I just get one plate and I eat it and I enjoyed it, I got my money's worth and whatnot and everything. Whether that's considered economically sound or not, it's a whole other story. But that's not the thing we're talking about. We're talking about what does it mean for something to be what it is. A buffet does not mean you need to eat everything or you need to have a high quantity of food. It's rather the food's already prepared. You go and serve yourself. I enjoy buffets for that convenience that the food's already prepared and you just go grab what you want to eat instead of sitting down and waiting. Does that and whatnot? Not that I'm against sitting down and waiting, but if you're working on a time thing and everybody just want to eat, yeah, a buffet makes so much sense in that regards. Or not sense, but is appealing in that regards. And the reason about that is because but there are people who think if they go to a buffet, they have to eat so much. I think we've seen it so many times in shows. Like, in fact, what you call it? Do you ever watch the show called the life The Life of a Household Husband. It's a manga
Is that
slash anime.
anime?
Yeah, on Netflix. I think it's
Yeah, it's like the dude who was like a former
yeah,
yakuza, right?
exactly.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, they have a
yeah,
scene where him and his wife go to a buffet, and he's like trying to eat everything, and then it came to like, oh, he ate too much that he didn't have enough for the dessert that he really wanted, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of like that mentality. Cause he was on my mind that I gotta make my money worth for being at this buffet. It's like that
yeah.
zero sum. I'm not sure called zero sum fallacy. I have to look up the term, but yeah, you don't need to make everything like all encompassing. Just like how some people feel like, oh, if I get a game, it gotta be worth the amount. If I pay $20, I at least hope the game gives me 20 hours worth of gameplay. It's
Yeah,
like no,
yeah.
you don't have to view things in that type of scope or zero sum manner and whatnot. Like,
I think maybe something that influences that because like I've been guilty of both of those fronts before. Another medium that comes into play for the exact same reasons that you're talking about is like when people pay for a movie ticket, right? And the movie sucks, and they're like, "Oh well, I paid for it. I got to stick it through." And it's like, no, you don't have to do that because like your time is really important, you know. And I
absolutely.
think maybe one of the things that influences that type of thinking, I know at least for me, is like, yeah, when you don't have a lot of money growing up, you know, and so like you're still trying to sort out like what the value of your money is, you know,
Yeah.
when you put your money towards something. Because dude, I'll tell you that the whole buffet thing, it's great that you have that type of thought because I had the opposite. I was like, man, if I'm gonna go to a buffet, I'm gonna make them pay, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna make them regret having me as a customer, and that's why I would like go for a minimum of 4 plates at a
I mean, if
buffet,
you
dude.
can handle that,
And
then by all means, that's just more
well,
icing on the cake. I don't have that.
that's the thing though. Yeah, like when I was younger, when my metabolism was higher, yeah. But then like, dude, getting older, you know, like the meme is like lower back pain or whatever and
No, they
fatigue.
don't talk
Yeah,
about
and
how you
that's
just
what
don't have a big appetite anymore when you get older. They don't talk about that enough because I used to have a big appetite and now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat so much now.
yeah, also just like the feeling of being bloated, dude, is so freaking miserable
Oh God,
that yeah.
yeah.
So Keobastein, watching the clock, I know we had to take a pause earlier, and I appreciate you bearing with me on that. But on this issue of identity and gaming, was there maybe like another point that you wanted to hammer in? Were we able to really kind of go through the way that you wanted to discuss? Because I think if not, like we should cover that point before we wind down.
All right. Let's see if I can get my thoughts together. I think we kind of sort of did cover it, but I
Because like what we were saying off air was like you were wanting to give that reminder and warning to people not to be so obsessive, right? Like was that your main takeaway
yeah.
or?
Basically, don't be obsessive, but don't also like do not. Yeah, actually, like you don't need to make something like not everything is what's the word I want to use? All or nothing. Not everything all or nothing. Like there are times when I have told my friends that hey, I think I take a break from fighting games and whatnot. Or sorry, no. When I say I'm gonna stop, like I remember how when I told some people, hey, I think I'm gonna stop playing this game, they take it as I'm gonna stop playing fighting games altogether. It's like no, I'm just not gonna play this game anymore because this game's just not doing it for me and whatnot. Like
Well,
I'm
I
just
wonder for them, that fear is because maybe in a way they're empathizing. Because for them, if they took a break, then that means that they would quit it altogether. And I can understand if like someone put all the eggs in their basket for something being their identity, and then if they stop it and they lose that sense of identity, that can be like a really scary
actually
thing. But
actually
yeah,
let me share something that did happen. So I am actively playing Hunter Nem Impact. Even though I haven't playing most of my match, I've been playing actively playing it. So I've now got about let's see how many hours I got on this game right now because I definitely have quite a bit. Give me a second.
yeah, while you pull that up, I'm going to assume that you have more hours in Nen Impact than I do in Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and what's another recent title?
All right.
Uh, King
So
of Fighters 15 combined
I see.
is what
So
I'm going to
right
assume.
now I got 146 hours, and that's not in, and that's
Yep.
just counting for the Steam version. I do have the Switch version, which I train on, and I know some of these numbers are also definitely minimized because since I have it on my cloud, it doesn't always recognize when I'm playing it on the cloud
Think,
as
yeah.
well. So I'm at least going to say I just got nearly 200 hours. Now I've been trying to make a certain team run because all right, if you ask right now who's my favorite character in Hunter x Hunter, Well, I will have to say Hisoka. I think technically that's like a lot of people's favorite character because he's just that of an impressionable character. But then after Hisoka, it'd be Netero. I really like Netero, so I really want to like, oh, really want to play with Netero. And then I started playing with Razor, who I thought was really cool. And then I bounced between characters like Miriam, who I thought was cool, Kurapika, and Lirio. But now to compete and competitively, I was sorry. I remember some people said initially that, oh, this game is kind of open enough that you can kind of pick who you want. But now that I've come more understanding of the game, that's not necessarily true. Not that the game is horribly imbalanced, or sorry, no, maybe it is horribly imbalanced. It's hard to say, but I was trying to stubbornly let I want to at least play Razor and Netero, but I'm willing to swap out a third character. But because I finally kept losing, I kept losing frustrating enough that eventually I'm like, okay, if I can't make this team work, I just want to play this game. But that was the Salt talking to me at that time. When I finally had a day over and then I started playing with other characters, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm willing to bitch Netero. Why did I want to have Netero so badly? When the fact that he's a favorite character, I thought he was cool, but what do I care more? The fact that I could still be a Netero fan, but I don't have to play him as a character. But I want to enjoy my time with this game because right now this is one of the few fighting games that I'm enjoying.
Dude,
So
that's such a huge example right there. Like just because you love it, you don't have to force yourself on certain aspects of it.
exactly,
So right now we're really zoomed in on like the character pick itself, but that can be just like a franchise, the IP. Like
yeah,
what a great example right there. Yeah.
yeah. And whatnot. In fact, to bring up another example, there was a content creator I like who I'm not sure if saying his name will cause any problem, but there was a content creator, Riva Reploid, who had a very large crash out about Mega Man. Now they actually fell out of prominence because of other personal thing that came up that makes him look very terrible. But I stopped being a fan of his video because of the fact that he was so apparently I think it was Mega Man's 35th anniversary coming up. It's like Nintendo, I mean, not Nintendo, he was like, Capcom, you need to do something because if you go on the 30th anniversary but don't do anything, that's freaking terrible. How can you do something with Monster Hunter but not Mega Man? How can you do something for like basically they basically almost made like a somewhat threat to Capcom, and I'm like, oh, this is way too much. Like I love Mega Man. I could how can I explain to people I love Mega Man?
Mega
Yeah,
Man to you is like what Pokemon was to me, maybe.
yeah.
Something like that.
Mega Man
Yeah.
is just very important to me. That I want to go into anything that could become problematic. Not problematic, but I just really love Mega Man. But even my love for Mega Man doesn't make me go beyond my integrity as a human being, my integrity as a person.
Mhm.
I love Mega Man.
Mhm.
Not to the point where I'm going to dismiss somebody if they don't like Mega Man, or if Capcom doesn't give me Mega Man. I'm like, all right, well, this is all I have in Mega Man. I'm going to appreciate what I get. Like Phantom Breaker. I did not know if I was going to get more Phantom Breaker, and I'm glad I got Phantom Breaker Omnia. And if I ever never got Phantom Breaker Omnia, I would have basically been like, well, hey, I still got Phantom Breaker Extra. I still have what I have. I'm not going to stop engaging with other stuff just because I don't have any more of this and that stuff and whatnot. So I think that's kind of my last takeaway. Like, you don't need to take anything to the extremes of sucking cost fallacy where if you invest something into it, you could only keep investing into it and not pull yourself out. No, you can pull yourself out. And you don't also need to be so identified by something that it is your personality or your
Yes.
mantra
So I'll
dogmatically.
add to that, man. Like another way to look at it, it's like if you are a real fan of something, and like I hate framing it in that way, but just to say like if you're a real fan of something, but you feel like you have to constantly prove you're a fan, like that's not healthy, right? Like you shouldn't have to prove anything. You should be able to say, I like this thing, and that's it. And like, why would you need to convince somebody, right? Like, why would you need to have to be part of like an argument for one side or the other? You can be part of the discourse, you can be part of like the conversation, but I do find that that's harder and harder to have online with a random person, right? Not impossible, and you can always explore and find communities, and maybe a Discord channel could give you that possibility, but just like the gut reaction is for example, if you're like on a Twitter thread or something, like there's in my opinion the chances being really low to have like a decent discussion on there, right? Or in the YouTube comments or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's kind of wraps up, covers everything. And thank you again for sharing your thoughts on that matter and such. So I think without that further ado, did we have anything else that we missed?
I think we nailed it, man. So
All
I
right.
appreciate you taking the time.
All right. So, hey, before we go, calm down. Where can people find you?
So they can catch me on Twitch, COMMDAO. And then I've been collaborating with Fabian on a YouTube channel project called Gotcha Pity Livin', where we should be recording our next podcast soon.
Ah, okay. Actually, thank you for giving. I think I've been meaning to catch up to that. So, yeah, hey, people, that's where you can find Calm Down. And today, I might actually stream. I'm not sure. But you can find me at Twitch at Keobastein. And without further ado, you also can find our podcast on Keobastein at YouTube.com, which you're probably already watching this from. And without further ado, thanks everybody for watching, and you take care.